There exists a category of creatures in this world. They have been spotted by a few, yet their existence remains unconfirmed. We refer to them collectively as Unidentified Mysterious Animals, UMA. Hello everyone, and welcome to the World in 10 Minutes series. The ocean is the vastest body of water on Earth, and also one of the most difficult areas to explore. For centuries, humans have never ceased their research on the ocean. But extreme temperature differences, endless darkness, unbearable pressure, and oxygen scarcity have hindered our exploration. These challenges have shrouded the ocean in mystery, making unexplainable phenomena and unknown creatures seem all the more possible beneath its depths. From the dragons in folklore to the legendary mermaids, stories of mysterious underwater beings exist across cultures worldwide. Today, I want to share with you the tale of a massive sea monster from Bahamian folklore, the Lusca. Andros Island, the largest island in the Bahamas, is world-famous for its pristine white beaches and turquoise blue waters. Scattered across its inland areas and surrounding regions are approximately 200 deep and seemingly bottomless oceanic blue holes. These blue holes resemble giant sinkholes in the sea, with depths ranging between 300 to 400 feet. They were formed at the end of the Ice Age, when glacial meltwater and rain eroded the limestone bedrock, causing underground caves to flood as sea levels rose, creating these breathtaking and mysterious formations. The bottoms of these blue holes are a maze of tunnels, many of which connect to one another. Local residents often warn divers and tourists to stay away from these blue holes. According to legend, lurking in the abyssal depths is a terrifying sea creature known as Lusca. Some of you may have seen this creature's design in certain popular sci-fi films. The 2010 American sci-fi film Sharktopus was inspired by the legend of Lusca. Also known as Giant Scuttle, Hand of the Deep, or Hairy Hand, Lusca is described in local folklore as a hybrid creature, half octopus, half shark. It is enormous, measuring between 75 to 200 feet in length. It has powerful tentacles covered in suction cups and the ability to change its shape and color to blend seamlessly into its surroundings. It emerges at night, lurking near blue holes, suddenly rising from the depths to attack passing ships. The legend of Lusca is widespread, not only in the Bahamas, but also in the southeastern Caicos Islands and along the northern coast of Cuba. In some versions of the legend, Lusca is described as a half-dragon, half-octopus, or a monstrous eel of extraordinary size. While these descriptions vary, most modern sightings consistently depict Lusca as a massive octopus or squid-like creature. The famous Lusca International Film Festival in Puerto Rico was even named after this legendary sea monster. One of the earliest written records of Lusca dates back to 1863 in the book North American Fisheries, written by French traveler Bénédicte-Henri de Revoil. In chapter 14, titled Sea Serpents, Revoil recalls a story he heard in New York from an American ship captain. The captain recounted an incident from 1836 when his ship was preparing to land in the Bahamas. They were suddenly attacked by a monstrous sea creature. The creature extended massive tentacle-like arms, dragging two crew members into the ocean. Despite the crew's desperate efforts, they were unable to rescue the men from the monster's grasp. However, they managed to sever one of the creature's arms. The severed tentacle measured over 3 meters in length and was as thick as an adult human's torso. After the incident, the captain took the severed limb to the Barnum American Museum. Revoil claimed to have personally seen this specimen stored in a large glass jar filled with alcohol, folded and preserved. Unfortunately, since the museum was undergoing renovations at the time, it had also closed its virtual archives, making it difficult to find more detailed records or images of the specimen. This, however, remains one of the earliest written accounts of Lusca's existence. On the evening of November 30th, 1896, along the coast of St. Augustine, Florida, north of the Bahamas, two boys riding along the shore stumbled upon a massive object partially buried in the sand. Frightened and intrigued, they hurried back to town to report their discovery to American naturalist DeWitt Webb. The following day, Professor Webb arrived at the scene and found a severely decomposed, incomplete animal carcass. The visible portion of the body measured approximately 18 feet in length and 7 feet in width. The entire corpse was pale pink and had a texture resembling tough rubber. Interestingly, the remains appeared to have 4 partially missing limbs, leading Webb to conclude that the carcass belonged to an unknown species of giant octopus. In January 1897, a violent storm washed the remains back into the sea, only for them to resurface about 2 miles south at Crescent Beach. The story of the mysterious sea creature spread rapidly, making headlines in various newspapers. Many scientists were invited to examine the remains, including E.A. Verrill, a leading American expert on cephalopods at the time. He initially suggested that the remains could belong to a giant squid or a massive octopus. However, after decades of scientific analysis, in 2004, researchers finally confirmed that the so-called sea monster was nothing more than a decomposed mass of whale blubber. Still, before this discovery, the St. Augustine carcass had long been considered one of the strongest pieces of physical evidence supporting the existence of Lusca. On October 6, 1949, the American Star News published a report featuring an account from Frank Clark, a British sailor who claimed to have encountered a giant octopus. He described an incident from August 1938, when he was sailing from the Canary Islands toward the Bahamas. About 500 miles east of the Bahamas, he got caught in a violent storm. During the chaos, he witnessed a massive octopus approaching his ship, while a pod of orcas attempted to hunt the creature. The ocean became even more turbulent, as the struggle between the orcas and the giant cephalopod sent waves crashing violently in all directions. Clark later recalled, "I hid inside my cabin because it was the only time in my life I had ever felt fear. You could go a lifetime without ever experiencing turbulence like that." Eventually, the sharks dragged it into the depths, and it disappeared from sight. In March 1956, American marine biologist Forrest Wood traveled to the Bahamas to investigate the legendary sea monster. A local guide named Duke confidently told him, "There is no doubt, the giant octopus is real." When Wood asked him about the creature's size, Duke pointed to a small cabin 75 yards away and said, "Its arms could reach all the way over there. It has been spotted 3 times in recent decades, the most recent being 10 years ago, in 1946. To local fishermen, Lusca is considered most dangerous only when its tentacles wrap around a boat, while its other arms anchor to the seafloor." Another Andros Island fisherman told Wood about a personal encounter. When he was 12 years old, he had gone fishing with his father. At one point, their fishing line hooked onto something unusually heavy. After a great struggle, they reeled in a massive octopus gripping the line. The creature then escaped the hook and latched onto the bottom of their boat. Terrified, they didn't know what to do. Luckily, after a few moments, the octopus released its suction and disappeared into the deep. Wood later published his findings in the 1971 edition of Natural History magazine. Shortly after, he received a letter from a naval officer named John Martin. In his letter, Martin described an incident that took place in 1941 while he was on patrol at sea. That day, he suddenly noticed a large mass of brown seaweed clinging to the underside of the ship's bow. As he approached, he realized that it wasn't seaweed, but a massive tentacle covered in suction cups. Many of the ship's crew witnessed the same thing, yet the incident was never recorded in their official naval log. With the advancement of technology and the rise of modern media, Lusca's story has continued to capture public attention well into the 21st century. In 2009, the American supernatural reality show The Final Truth, in its 3rd episode, took a deep dive into the legend of Lusca. The Gates team gathered extensive research and equipment to travel to Andros Island in search of the legendary sea monster. Upon arrival, they found that local fishermen firmly believed in Lusca's existence. One of them, Captain Peter Douglas, claimed to have personally seen Lusca. He described the encounter. While sailing near a blue hole, he saw several enormous tentacles emerging from the water's surface. The creature's body was a murky, grayish-brown color, and after slowly rolling over, it disappeared beneath the sea. At first, Gates hoped to find an experienced captain familiar with the Blue Hole region to assist them in their search. However, every single one refused, explaining that they were too afraid of those waters. With no other choice, the production team rented a boat and set off on their own. They used underwater cameras and sonar scanning technology to sweep the Blue Hole with the most reported sightings. Strangely, they did detect something unusual. Sonar picked up a massive, 120-foot-long object moving beneath the water. When Gates himself dove into the Blue Hole, he briefly caught sight of a large, shadowy figure disappearing into an underwater tunnel. To confirm their findings, that night they traveled to an inland cave connected to the same Blue Hole. There, they recorded footage of a massive creature swimming past the water's surface. It's really fast. Thermal imaging cameras also detected large aquatic movements causing splashes. However, due to the darkness of night, they were unable to confirm exactly what they had encountered. After the investigation, they took their findings to Scott Kubal, a marine biology professor at the University of California. Kubal explained that blue holes could indeed serve as an ideal habitat for large octopuses. Given the unique ecological environment of these blue holes, they could easily support the existence of such a massive aquatic creature. From a scientific standpoint, Kubal did not dismiss the possibility that such a species could exist. In 2016, the UK-based Idle independent television company produced a wildlife documentary series, which aired on BBC in the UK. In Season 8, Episode 4, the series featured an in-depth investigation into Lusca. British biologist Jeremy Wade interviewed key witnesses on Andros Island. One of them, Peter Douglas, who had previously appeared in the Final Truth investigation, told Wade about a recent tragic incident. According to Douglas, 3 children had been playing and swimming near the edge of a blue hole. One of them chased after a floating ball that had drifted toward the center of the blue hole. Only 2 children made it back to shore. The third boy disappeared forever into the depths. No trace of him was ever found. Another fisherman, Rupert Tamer, who had also spoken to the Gates team, shared his personal encounter with Wade. He was fishing when he spotted a strange creature approximately 50 feet away on the water's surface. At first, he thought it was a manta ray, but then he noticed tentacles surrounding it. The creature's head resembled a whale shark with a sharp, pointed snout. It measured approximately 8 feet in length. The tentacles were the last detail he could recall before the creature vanished beneath the waves. Determined to uncover the truth, Wade personally dived into the blue hole. However, apart from the vast darkness and an intricate maze of underwater tunnels, he found no solid evidence of Lusca's existence. Later, in Washington's Puget Sound, Wade encountered the world's largest known species of octopus, the giant Pacific octopus. Through interviews with an elderly fisherman who had once been attacked by an octopus, Wade confirmed that these cephalopods were capable of dragging a full-grown human underwater. Furthermore, the way an octopus moves while swimming could easily be mistaken for a shark, which might explain some of the reported sightings. In 2020, the Discovery Channel released a documentary titled The Curse of the Bermuda Triangle. As part of their investigation into the legend of Lusca, a research team assembled their gear and traveled to Dean's Blue Hole on Long Island, Bahamas. According to local reports, in March 2011, a young diver went missing in the area, and his body was never found. Many locals believe that Lusca took him. During their expedition, the team discovered a piece of torn clothing and heavily damaged diving equipment. Even more chilling, they found a strange bone-like object that resembled an animal skeleton. The research team took the bone fragment to Daniel Miller, an American marine zoologist. After examining it, Miller identified it as part of the beak of a large squid. He estimated that the squid's size might have been as long as the table in front of them, similar to the known Humboldt squid. However, what puzzled him was the deformation of the bone. The fragment showed signs of extreme force, as if it had been twisted or compressed. This led him to suspect that the squid had been involved in an intense battle with a massive predator. Despite this, Miller dismissed the idea that a hybrid half-octopus, half-shark creature could exist. From an evolutionary biology perspective, he explained that sharks and octopuses are fundamentally different and have evolved in completely separate ways. His response was clear. Biologically, evolutionarily, they are very, very different. The debate over Lusca's true nature is generally divided into three major perspectives. The first theory argues that Lusca is not a new species, but simply a known cephalopod, with its legendary attacks on humans exaggerated over time. Marine scientist Gilbert Worth pointed out that cases of giant squid carcasses washing ashore are not uncommon in the Caribbean. Squid often lose battles against sharks, and their remains are frequently found on beaches. For instance, the colossal squid, often reported in news articles, is more common in the North Pacific. The Humboldt squid, which primarily inhabits the Eastern Pacific, is also considered a strong suspect. This species is known for its aggressive behavior, and attacks on fishermen by Humboldt squid have been well documented over the years. Among those who support this theory are Canadian naturalist Bruce Wright and cryptozoologist George Eberhardt. The second theory suggests that Lusca does not exist and is instead a mythical interpretation of shipwrecks. British wildlife documentary filmmaker Colin Willock proposed that Lusca's alleged attacks on ships and humans may actually be caused by the dangerous tidal currents in blue holes. He suggested that irregular water movements and tides could create a powerful siphoning effect, which increases water pressure and drags ships underwater. However, this theory has its flaws. It fails to explain eyewitness accounts that describe a living, moving entity. Furthermore, seasoned sailors and fishermen are well versed in natural sea hazards and would likely not mistake whirlpools for a living creature. The third theory proposes that Lusca is an undiscovered species of giant octopus. This idea stems from the limited extent of human exploration in the deep ocean. Even marine biologist Jeremy Wade, who investigated the legend, suggested that Lusca might be a massive octopus. Octopuses, commonly known as eight-armed creatures, are highly intelligent invertebrates that belong to the cephalopod class, alongside squids and cuttlefish. They possess complex nervous systems and excellent vision, making them among the smartest and most behaviorally diverse invertebrates. Currently, the largest known octopus is the North Pacific giant octopus, which has an arm span of up to 14 feet and weighs approximately 110 pounds. It is found in Canada, the United States, Japan, Russia, and eastern China. However, it is still much smaller than the legendary Lusca. Marine biologist Michel Reynal, a respected paleozoologist and expert on cephalopods, has suggested that Lusca may be a species of massive ringed octopus. He believes that Lusca's nickname, hairy hand, might come from the fringed suckers found on certain species of octopuses. Furthermore, the geological and ecological conditions of blue holes provide an ideal environment for large marine creatures to thrive. Personally, my knowledge of marine life is limited, but I still lean toward the theory that Lusca could be an undiscovered species of giant octopus. While no concrete evidence has been found to support this claim, legends of massive sea creatures have existed for centuries. Take, for example, the kraken from Norse mythology, Akorokamui, the giant octopus of Ainu folklore in Japan, and Zhangju, recorded in the Chinese illustrated treatise on sea creatures, Haikuo 2. Rather than simply believing Lusca exists, I would say that I hope it exists. As technology advances, I believe that one day humans will push past the limits of ocean exploration and finally uncover the secrets hidden beneath the deep blue. As always, the unknown is greater than the known, and that is what makes unidentified mysterious animals so fascinating. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for watching.